because I got caught, because I got busted, because I got myself in the pickle, because things didn't go how I wanted it to go or how I believed it could go.
Is there something that you try to remember about the upside of a crisis during a crisis, or do we just need to ride that out? Because I think that perspective,
that's a good question. Yeah, right.
Zooming out would be so beautiful. And in retrospect, if only you could give yourself the gift of distance, of time.
Yeah.
And yet something hard is going to come again and you're going to be swept away by the wave.
I mean, for me, I think it's an obvious dance of the both, because you can't jump to the objective right away and go, inshallah, oh, fate'll have it, this too shall pass, I'm fine. No, because then you don't deal with the crisis. I do have a pretty quick threshold for being able to laugh, like honestly start giggling when I'm in the shit, because I've found that I'm able to handle the shit better if the quicker I start going, are you kidding me? And I'll get objective and remind myself things like, you gonna die, McConaughey, which gives me that, so what, this is not as big of a deal as I thought. I also quickly somehow comes in my head, not right now, but one day this is gonna be a great fucking story. I quickly go to that. I'll project forward into those places that ease me a little bit, and at least maybe look at it with a good eye.
You're almost imagining being that future you, laughing back at this present you.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to the faith and belief that again, I'm nervous before I'm going to go speak or something. I got a little thing in my wallet. You're going to die one day, McConaughey, and I'm like, that relaxes me. If I'm going in, complacent, I got another note and tell myself, what you're about to say and do will outlive you. So you better fucking do it well, to get me more on edge.
This balance is so fascinating. Being able to thread that needle, being able to find the golden mean, as Aristotle talked about. But yeah, I've heard you say that you should make a sense of humor your default emotion.
Yeah. Linklater and I came up with that in a conversation about 12 years ago. Richard Linklater. And we were just talking about how mad and angry and upset and offended people get if they don't know how to react, if they don't have an opinion on something. I mean, we're like, yeah, man, wouldn't the world be a better place? Be easier to get along with everybody? If the default emotion, if you're not sure how to respond, was it? Okay. Now, most people think, they go, well, that's insensitive. But it's not insensitive. They usually think that means you're not giving the crisis credit if you can laugh at it. And I wholeheartedly disagree.
Oh, that there's some sort of tribute in solemnity.
Yeah, that you're not core enough about it, man. Whatever that, you know what I mean? It's like, you're not taking it seriously. You're actually putting me down, and just because you're saying you don't feel victimized, and you laugh at this situation, you're telling me you're making fun of me being a victim. And I'm like, no. I'm trying to deal, because especially when we talk about the book, if it's inevitable too. I laugh a lot quicker when I know I'm in an inevitable pickle. I have no other resource to get out of it that I know of. So I'm going to start giggling a little quicker, so I keep my eyes open and figure my way. Maybe because sometimes the hard work and the endurance and the elbow grease, the work harder we were talking about, that hustle is not the way out. Sometimes I need to back up, laugh, have a sip of my favorite whatever, and dance my way through the raindrops out of this sumbitch. Maybe it's not banging your head on the wall. Maybe it's backing up and seeing, I got a key in my pocket that unlocks the door I've been bloodying my skull over, banging into.
I do wonder why. I like being serious. I'm serious about the things I do. I'm serious about this podcast, as you might be able to tell by the fact we've renovated an entire barn. But there is something that you can take that too far. The seriousness can become a kind of rigidity, as opposed to being dynamically persistent. Taking things too seriously, not swaying in the breeze.
Right.
Presuming that you like the things you do and you want to keep doing them, the less robust and flexible you are, the more likely you are to break in those ways. And I think that humor is a lovely bit of ballast that helps to balance that out.
I would frame it this way: be very serious about sense of humor. be very serious about comedy. I'm extremely serious about comedy. And I you know, do I take myself seriously? Yes. But I also take seriously the shit I don't. Do I want to know everything? Yeah. But I also take seriously the shit that I don't know. And go, be serious about that you don't know that. Be serious about that this is freaking funny, or at least it's going to be. So I try to take the comedy seriously. So I think we can take sense of humor seriously, and we don't have to create a new category of going, oh, I need to be lighthearted or more careless and carefree. We can just care more maybe about the validity
The right
of a good
things.
sense of humor.
Yeah.
You know, instead of it being a relief. So let me let go of the pressure here. Now it's not, it's almost like it's not another bucket. It's in the same bucket of commitment and persistence and endurance. And
Talking about that balance between good times and bad times, and the lessons that we take from each. Heard a quote recently that said, "Every man knows reflection and introspection when he's at his lowest." Bad times, you can't do anything other than wallow in retrospective assessment.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite things I've learned from you is when things are going well, given that that's presumably what you want to have more of, maybe worth deconstructing that.
Yes, I wish I could more, and I think more of us could all deconstruct our assets. Happiness. You can't guarantee it, but there is a science to satisfaction. There, you can look at habits that engineered less pain in your life, maybe more pleasure, but at least less pain, and that's a win. I try to deconstruct. Look, do I write it? Did I used to write as much? Look at anybody who's ever kept a diary. What's the old sort of nostalgic idea of a diary? You go there when you're in pain and you share thoughts that you don't want to share with anyone else, of those reflection. And I did used to, for some reason, I don't know why, but would force myself to write every day, no matter how happy I was. And I didn't a lot of times want to go write when I was happy, because I was like, no, I don't need to write it. I don't need to become conscious of it.
I'm having too much fun. It's getting in the way.
Come on, I'm doing it. It's living, it's happening. And in writing Greenlights, when I went back, that's a lot of the consistencies that I found that I wrote when things were going well, that I was for some reason, taking time to go, can I try and bottle some science here to why things are going well? And I did find consistencies. Who I was hanging out with at night, what I was drinking, what bar I was at, what food I was drinking, how exercise, preparation for work, for school. And I found things I was like, you were really happy in this segment of your life. Let's go back and look at what you were doing. Oh, man, I had Augmentino scrolls. I was on them every day. I had some discipline where I was checking in with myself. Oh, you were going to church on Sundays. You were saying thank you, God, before you went to bed each night. You were appreciating more. You were pointing out beautiful things and not taking them for granted. And so I found a list of things. I'm like, and when I get off track, I try to remind myself, you've been slacking on some of those. And I could pull it off. I've evolved. I got different ways. I can get away with some now, but I've definitely found consistencies, and I think we all have them if we just notate them along the way, that they're not by accident. Because we sure as hell deconstruct the reasons when we're in the funk, and we don't believe they're by accident. We can take ourselves to behind the woodshed and show ourselves exactly why we're guilty for every reason, and condemn ourselves for every damn reason we got to that spot. Yeah. Well, if we're going to do that, I just say, let's cheers. Let's have a cheers on the way for all the things that will work for when we have shit going right. Also knowing that it's not forever, that we will have a mountain to climb here shortly.
Isn't it interesting? So much of content that people like to consume, books, podcasts, autobiographies, memoirs, is deconstructing the success of others. So we'll happily dissect success in other people,
right,
and yet only dissect failure in ourselves. This odd asymmetry where we bestow all of the glory
right
on those people. Well done. And I must find out how to do it more, even if it doesn't fit me, even if they're a different constitution, different background, different time. For me, I'll focus on the negatives.
Right.
There's a really interesting stat around the likelihood of you ensuring that your dog completes a course of antibiotics is about 95%. The likelihood that you ensure that you'll complete a course of antibiotics is about 50%. So we're prepared to look after an animal twice as well as ourselves.
I wrote a note the other day, man.
What does that say on the back of your phone? The sticker?
Oh,
choose to shine. Very cool.
My daughter gave me that.
Yeah.
I wrote the other day, and then most of what I do is I use this notes app, right? And I wrote the other day, where is it? It was on that note. I was like, what's my best advice I need to give myself right now is listen to my own damn advice.
Yeah.
And it followed that up with, where is it? Trying to live with less gravity and more backbone is a salty task.